Hello everyone and welcome to this session on Salesforce interview questions and answers. So in this session, we will be covering all the questions that are asked in Salesforce interviews. So let's start off by the first question. What is Salesforce and why do we use it? So Salesforce is an American cloud-based software company that provides customer relationship management services and also sells a complementary suite of enterprise application mainly focused on customer service, marketing automation, analytics, and application development. So majorly it is a service as a software company that specializes in customer relationship management. Also, Salesforce services allow businesses to use cloud technology to better connect with customers, partners, and potential customers. To understand Salesforce, let me give you a real life example that you can connect with real life scenarios. Suppose you have an idea of building your own e-commerce website. Now you will gather the requirements such as you will have to create a mobile as well as web application. Also, you have to take care of business requirements such as marketing, sales, customer service, database of the whatever business you are trying to build. So you need a database for storing and analyzing the data. Next is analytics that you need for your business so that you can track in which direction your business is going. So for all these stuffs, if you try to build systems, or we can say traditional systems, it will take a year or two for doing so. But to resolve this problem, we have Salesforce. Salesforce provides you a box of services that includes all those services that you need to provide to your customers, such as for business, you need marketing automation, sales automation, customer service automation, and analytics of the business. So all this is provided by Salesforce. So you just need to have an idea and you have to gather your business requirements, and Salesforce will help you to build the application and deploy on Salesforce. Also, you need not to take care of the maintenance, security, scalability. It is all taken care by Salesforce, and it comes with a affordable price if we compare it with the construction of traditional systems. So a 360-degree customer profile, sales automation, marketing automation, customer service automation, these all features are provided by Salesforce. Now let's move on to the next question. What is Salesforce Marketing Cloud? So Salesforce Marketing Cloud is a provider, is basically a digital marketing automation provider, and it also provides services such as software analytics. Basically, Salesforce Marketing Cloud is a customer relationship management platform for marketers that allow them to create and manage marketing relationships and campaigns with customers. So you can see over here that it provides the features such as journey, contact, content, channel, analytics, and application. So Journey, Salesforce Journey Builder is a feature of company's marketing cloud that manages the life cycle of the customers, such as their purchasing, following a brand, and many things. This helps you to grab the attention of the customers or advertise them the product they like. The contact service helps to get the contacts of the customers. The content service helps to know the proper content that you need to advertise. The channel consists of various platforms such as Gmail and various marketing channels, you can say, for your business. The analytics thing helps you to analyze your business, in which direction it is going, and you can analyze the sales, the performance of the business, etc. And the application, you can get a single application, you can get all these features, all these stuffs in a single application. Now the next is, how does Salesforce CRM work? So basically it starts with running a campaign from using email, magazine, activities, and etc. After that, through this it generate leads. So the customers who are interested in buying the product, so they are considered as the potential leads that are followed up through the campaigns. So the leads are generated either through manual or automated methods. After that, these leads are assigned to the sales executive. Then they follow up the leads through, again, using phone, email, or direct meeting. After that, they the sales executives qualify or filters the lead and convert leads into the potential leads. They know who all will be the potential customers, who all will churn out for buying our product. After that, they categorize the leads. They collect the details of customers such as account, contact, and opportunity. Then they follow up the customers again through phone, email, or direct meeting to make a deal for their product. Now we will move on to the next question. What are custom objects? So first you need to know standard objects. So the standard objects are objects that are included with Salesforce. The common business objects like account, contact, lead, and opportunity are all standard objects. And on the other hand, custom objects are objects that you create to store information that is specific to your company or industry. So basically the custom object is a set of custom records that supplement the standard contact and account records. So these objects allow you to store additional data in a scalable manner and link that data to a contact or account record. So there may be the enterprise data stored in the database. So what this custom object does is it creates an instance, or it consists of a unique information that is called master detail relationship that connects the enterprise data to the database. So whenever we have to fetch the data or get the you can say feature of the data, you can refer to the custom objects. Now let's move on to the next question. These are the processes that are involved while creating and using a custom object. So first you have to join the records with the custom object, then display the custom object in the custom list, then create a custom tab for the custom object. After that, build page layouts, create a dashboard and a report for analyzing the custom object. Now let's move on to the next question. What do you understand by object relationship in Salesforce? So an object can be considered as a junction object in Salesforce. So a junction object can be is definitely a custom object with two master detail relationships for the two different types of records, and it is used to present a many-to-many relationship in which several junction objects can link one instance of a record to many children, and each children can equally be linked to all of them. So it is a type of bi-directional relationship. For example, I'll give you an example of an e-commerce website. So if a customer visits an e-commerce website and he is interested in buying a particular book, then some other customer visits the website and he or she is also interested in buying books. So all this search history of the customers are stored in the database of the e-commerce websites, and whenever the recommendation engine of the e-commerce websites pitches or market or advertise their product to the first customer, so it will also advertise their products to the customer which is related or who is also interested in buying books. So this is how object relationship helps businesses to make automated marketing or advertisement systems. Now we will move on to the next question, that is list various object relations in Salesforce. So broadly classified, there are three types of object relations in Salesforce, that is one-to-many, many-to-many, and master detail relationship. Let's start with one-to-many relation. So when one object is related to many other objects, so this is a one-to-many relationship. So here you can see a city can have various zip codes, a customer can buy various products, or he can have records of various orders. So this is one-to-many relationship. Now the next one is many-to-many relationship. So a many-to-many relationship allows each record of one object to be linked to multiple records from another object and vice versa. So there can be various books of mathematics, physics, or chemistry, and there can be various categories of these books, such as for mathematics it can be algebra, trigonometry, calculus, linear algebra. For physics it can be optics, electromagnetism or mechanism. For chemistry, it can be organic chemistry, physical chemistry, inorganic chemistry. So this is a type of many to many relationship. Then comes a master detail relationship. So this type of relationship is like a parent child relationship where the master represents a parent and detail represents a child, in which master object controls some or maybe all of the behaviors of the details object. So for example, you can consider the data of the employee is stored and it will be considered as a parent or master object, and the details related to the employee such as employee name, employee ID, employee salary will be the details or child objects. So any changes or deletion in the parent object or the data of the employee results in the deletion of the child or detail objects. So this is called master detail relationship. Now let's go to the next question. What is an app in Salesforce? So a Salesforce app is a group of tabs that makes it easy for users to access a set of related features in the full salesforce.com browser app. So the concept of app, it is a way to organize the tabs and functionalities in a Salesforce mobile app. So this is the use of app in the Salesforce. Now let's move on to the next question. What are the advantages of Salesforce using the software as a service platform? So at very first, it comes with an affordable price in comparison to the traditional software systems. So it provides, you can use the services of Salesforce in a very comfortable or affordable price. You can launch your business or you can deploy a business model in Salesforce even if you are not having a huge amount to invest in your business. Now the next one is high security. So Salesforce provide high security to all their customers, and you need not to worry about any security or any security threat that may occur in your business. So it will be taken care by Salesforce itself. Now the next is hassle-free maintenance. All the maintenance part will be done by Salesforce. Then easy to scale. You can scale your requirements and whatever is needed in your business. So it gives you privilege of scaling up the requirements according to your use. Then comes easy accessibility. So it is accessible via internet from any remote location. Then improved performance. Salesforce always work and updates their systems so that they can give better and improved performance of their systems to their customer. Then trouble-free integration. If you want to integrate your business applications or any other thing with other technologies such as machine learning or big data, data science or any other thing, so it provides trouble-free integration of the softwares or the technologies. Now updated features. You always get the latest and the updated features from the Salesforce. So these are the advantages of using Salesforce as a software as a service platform. Now let's move on to the next question. What are workflows in Salesforce and what are actions in a workflow? So basically workflow in Salesforce, they are actually a fantastic way to automate certain business processes. And there are steps and there are actions or algorithms or applications that are working behind the scenes to provide the automation of the processes. So you can create a rule, and based on the certain criteria that you set, Salesforce can do a number of things. Like it can be like sending an email, creating a task, or updating a field. So what are actions in workflow? So you can see over here in the diagram, the records gets created or edited, then a criteria is set, and if the condition does not fulfill the criteria, then the records get saved without executing any action, and if it fulfills the criteria, then there are actions that you set to perform other tasks or to get ahead or take the flow of the processes to the next execution. So there are two types of actions, that is immediate actions and the time dependent actions. So majorly immediate actions are, like their name suggests, are executed as soon as the workflow rule finishes evaluating the record. and the time dependent actions are executed at a specific time, such as maybe 10 days or maybe before a record's close date. For example, if you visit an e-commerce or e-learning website, if you visit an e-learning website and or you sign in to the website, then you will get an immediate email for confirming your or verifying your email. That is the immediate action. And the time dependent actions, after 1 week they will send you email for their courses, for selling their courses, or for their course promotions. So that will be the time dependent action. So this is the use of workflows in Salesforce. So you can add your own workflow for your organization and you can set actions for it. Now the next one is, what is master detail relationship? So as we already saw in the relation or types of relations, so we'll understand this master detail relationship over here with the help of an example. So it is like, as we already know, it is like parent child relationship where the master represents a parent and detail represents a child, and the master object controls all of the behaviors or some of the behaviors of the object. So if the record, so you can consider an example, the detail of the student and the subject and the score they get in subject 1, subject 2, subject 3. So in subject 1, a student got 95 out of 100, in subject 2 85 out of 100, and subject 3 92 out of 100. So these are the detail objects and the master object is student, and there exists a relationship between them that can be the result of the student. So if one record is deleted, that is the object record is deleted, then it will result in the deletion of detail objects. So this is actually the master detail relationship. Now let's move on to the next question. Can you have a roll up summary field in the case of master detail relationship? So first you need to understand what is a roll up summary. So basically a roll up summary field calculates values from related records such as those in a related list. So you can create a roll up summary fields that automatically displays a value on the master record based on the values of records in the detail record. And these detail records must be directly related to the master through a master detail relationship. So this is the use of a roll up summary, and you can definitely, yes, you can have a roll up summary in the case of a master detail relationship. Then comes, what is SO object? So an SO object is any object that can be stored in the force.com platform database, and these are not actually objects if we consider it in the context of or sense of instances of Apex classes. So if you do not know what is an Apex, so let me tell you. An Apex is a development platform for building software as a service applications on top of Salesforce.com CRM functionality. So Apex allows developers to access Salesforce.com backend database and client service interface to create third-party SaaS applications. So SO object is a generic abstract type here in the Apex classes that corresponds to any persisted object type. So this is an SO object. Now the 13th question is, what are triggers in Salesforce? So basically a trigger is an Apex script that executes before or after data manipulation language event occurs, and the Apex triggers enable you to perform custom actions before or after events to record in Salesforce, and these operations can be the insertion, updates or deletion, upsert and merge. And below is the syntax to create Apex triggers, that is trigger name on object name. The argument will be trigger events, and after that you can execute your commands. So basically there are three types of triggers: before triggers, after triggers and bulky triggers. So we'll start with the first one. So before triggers are used to perform a task before a record is inserted or updated or deleted. and these are used to update or validate record values before they are saved to the database. And these only consist of insert, update or delete operations. Now the next one is after triggered. So the after triggers are used to access the field values that are set by the system, and it can be such as the record IDs or last modified date field, and to affect changes in other records such as logging into an audit table or firing asynchronous events with a queue. So after triggers are used. So the functions that are in after triggers are created by the last modified or record ID. So after triggers are basically used to access the values created by the system. Now the next one is bulky triggers. So bulky triggers can handle both single record updates and bulk operations like data import. So it basically it is used to process batches of records. Suppose you have 200 records and you have to process it, then you can use bulky triggers. Now let's move on to the next question. What is trigger.new? So trigger.new in Salesforce, it is a command which returns the list of records that have been added recently to the SO objects. And this SO object list is only available in insert and update triggers, and the records can only be modified in before triggers. So this is the purpose of using trigger.new in Salesforce. Now the next question is list various types of reports available in Salesforce. So there are tabular reports, summary reports, matrix reports and join reports. So going with tabular reports, so these are simple listing of data without any subtotals. And this type of reports provide you most basically to look into your data and use tabular reports when you want a simple list or a list of items with a grand total. For example, this type of reports can be used to list all type of accounts, list of contacts, list of opportunities. If any business is using it in sales, so tabular reports can be used over there. Then comes summary reports. So these type of reports provide a listing of data with groupings and subtotals. And we use summary reports when we want subtotals based on the value of a particular field, or when you want to create a hierarchically grouped report, such as it can be sales organized by the year and then by the quarter. So example can be the opportunities, all the opportunities for your team subtotal by the sales stage and owner. Maybe it can be yearly or quarterly. So this is where we use summary reports. Then comes matrix reports, and these reports allow you to group records both by row and by column, and a comparison of related totals with the totals by both row and column. And we use matrix reports when we want to see data by two different dimensions that maybe they are not related, and such as the data and the product. So this is where we use matrix reports. And finally the join reports. So the blocks of related information in a single report is the join reports. So this type of reports enable you to adopt 5 different blocks to display different types of related data, and each block can own unique columns, summary fields, formulas, filters, and it can be sort order. And basically we use join reports to group and show data from multiple report types in different views. And an example can be you can build summary or join reports to show the opportunity, case and activity data for your accounts. So this is the purpose of using join reports. Now the next one is list various Salesforce dashboard components. So these are the components, Salesforce components. So we are starting with gauge. So we use a gauge when we want to have a single value that you want to show within a range of custom values. Then comes matrix, and we use it when we have one key value to display. After that, table. So we use a table to show a set of reports, report data in column form. Then comes visual force page. So we use a visual force page when we want to create a custom component or show information that is not available in another component type. And finally, custom as component, and which can contain any type of content that you can display or run in a browser. Now let's move on to the next question. What is Visual Force in force.com? So basically, Visual Force is a framework that allows developers to build sophisticated custom user interfaces that can be hosted natively on the Lightning platform. And it consists of a tag based markup language that gives developers a more powerful way of building applications and customizing the Salesforce user interface. And with Visual Force, you can build wizards and other multi-step processes, and you can also create your own custom flow control through an application. Now let's move on to the next question. What is static resource in Salesforce? So static resource simply allows you to upload content that you can reference in a Visual Force page, and the resource can be archives such as jar file, zip, or JavaScript files. Now let's move on to the next question. Differentiate between Salesforce Object Query Language and Salesforce Object Search Language, that is SOQL and SOSL. Now the very first point is for what it stands for. SOQL stands for Salesforce Object Query Language, and Salesforce Object Search Language is for SOSL. Then they are used in, that is SOQL is used in list views, reports, Apex, and SOQL is used in global sidebar and advanced search, and Apex also. Then indexing. So SOQL provides synchronous indexing and SOSL provides asynchronous indexing. Then search focus. SOQL is accurate and SOSL is relevant and fast. As you can see an example of Google, that is a type of SOSL. Then search scope. SOSL can search one object at a time, and SOSL have the privilege and the capability to search multiple objects at a time. So basically, one more point is SOQL retrieves the records from the database by using the select keyword, and the SOSL retrieves or fetches the records from the database by using the find keyword. And the major difference between SOQL and SOSL is SOQL can know in which objects or fields the data resides, and by SOSL we don't know in which object or field the data resides. So these are the major differences between the SOQL and SOSL languages. Now let's move on to the next question. What are the different methods of batch Apex? So mainly there are three methods, that is start method, execute method, and finish method. So start method is called at the beginning of a batch Apex, and this is the syntax for creating a start method that consists of this global keyword, the database.query locator, then iterable object, and the start keyword, which consists of argument as database.batchable context along with an object. Then comes execute method, and the execute method is called for each batch of records passed to the method. And you can create or you can execute method by using the below query that consists of global void execute function, and the argument as database.batchable context with an object BC and the list. And finally it comes to finish method. So finish method is generally used at the ending of the program, and this is the syntax for declaring a finish method, for executing a finish method, that is global void finish, and the argument is database.batchable context along with a object BC. Now let's move on to the next question. What are the types of collections in Apex? So there are three types of collections in Apex, that is list. So starting with the list can contain any number of records of primitive collections, SO objects, and other user defined and built-in Apex type. Also it always starts with index 0, and a list should be declared with the keyword list. As you can see over here, the syntax to declare a list, and following are the some methods used in the list that are size, add, get, clear, and set. Now the next one is maps. So it is a key value pair which contains the unique key for each value, and both the key and the value can be of any data type. And to declare our map containing the first name value, we can use this map keyword along with string that I have used, and we can give an object or instance that we have to use, that is I have used my string map. So this is the basic structure or syntax for declaring maps. Then after that finally comes set. So the set is a collection of type which contains multiple number of unordered unique records, and a set cannot have duplicate records. Also, sets can be nested, like we can be like list can be nested. So it is similar to list in this behavior. And to define a new set with two elements which I have used, we can use the following syntax with the keyword set, and I have given the argument as string and the object or instance as set1, and this new set string to create the set class. Now let's move on to the next question. How does Salesforce platform deliver power to take marketing further? So it starts with integrating and connecting everything first of all. So we can connect every application or any service or functionalities of our business. So it can be like sales automation, marketing automation, automated customer services, analytics of the business. As we have already discussed, we can also integrate various technologies, such as if we have to integrate for automation, we have to integrate machine learning. For analytics, we have to integrate data science. For furthermore advanced technologies, such as we can use artificial intelligence. So it provides us the privilege of integrating and connecting everything. Then extend your marketing within custom apps. So you can use an application for performing all the stuff or all the functionalities that you need. You do not have to hover here and there for different tasks. Now the third one is personalize every customer's journey. One of the important factor in business is giving customers a personalized experience. So it provides a personalized experience to the customers. Then market with trust and security. So if we talk about market with trust and security, so definitely Salesforce is secure and your business data is secure with Salesforce. And after that, you will get automatic updates from Salesforce that will enhance your marketing techniques or strategies or automated marketing systems. So this is how Salesforce platform deliver power to take marketing further by integrating and connecting various technologies, giving personalized experience to the customers, extending the marketing within custom apps, and building security and trust within the market, and giving you automatic updates. Now, what is an Apex transaction? So basically an Apex transaction represents a set of operations that are executed as a single unit, and all the data manipulation language operations, that is DML operations of the database in a transaction either complete successfully, or if an error occurs in one operation, the entire transaction is rolled back and no data is committed. So it acts as a single unit of operation, and suppose there are three operations, O1, O2, O3, and if O3 fails, then the entire set of operations or the transaction is rolled back and no data is committed to the database. Now let's move on to the next question, that is 24th question. What is the difference between public class and global classes in the Apex? So public class, basically this keyword is used to define a class or method or variable that can be used by any Apex in the application or namespace. So the syntax for declaring it is public class, and for example I have taken cars class over here, and there is public void quite visible method and private void almost invisible method. So when we are using this public keyword, it can be the functions corresponding to it can be used by any apex within the application or namespace. After that, global classes. So if we define a class, method or variable using this global keyword, so it can be used by any apex that has access to the class and not just the apex in the same application. So for creating a global class, we'll use this global keyword class, and I have given it over here my class. So this is the use of global classes. Now the next one is what are getter and setter methods. So apex getter and setter methods we will be discussing about it. So we'll start with the getter method. So this method will return a value to a Visualforce page whenever a name variable is called. For example, I have taken an example class over here and declared it as public. So public class example, and here is a function that is public void set, and this will be taking an argument as string name, and this dot name will be set to name. And after that comes the public string get name, which is a getter method and which is having a return name, and this will return a value to a Visualforce page whenever this is called. After that, setter method. So this will take the value from the Visualforce page and store it to the apex variable name. So similarly, I have taken a setter class over here, public class setter, then public string name. After that, public string get name that will be used to return a name to the Visualforce page. And after that, public void set name, which will be taking an argument as name, and we will be using this keyword, this dot name equal to name, and it will take the value from the Visualforce page, and this will be stored to the apex variable name, whatever we are using it over here. Now let's go to the next question. Which fields are automatically indexed in Salesforce? So the custom fields marked as an external ID or a unique field, then primary keys such as ID, name and owner fields. After that, audit dates such as system mod stamp, then foreign keys such as lookup or master detail relationship fields. So basically these are the fields that are automatically indexed in Salesforce. After that, what is sandbox in Salesforce? So sandbox is a similar copy of a Salesforce production for testing, development and training. So, and there are various types of sandbox, that is developer sandbox, developer pro sandbox, partial copy sandbox and full copy sandbox. So basically sandbox is a copy of your production organization, and they are completely isolated from your Salesforce production organization, and so the operations you perform in your sandboxes do not affect your Salesforce production of the organization and vice versa. So we will start with understanding the use of developer sandbox. So basically a developer sandbox is a copy of production, and it copies all the application and configuration information to the sandbox. And this type of sandboxes are limited to 200 MB of test or sample data, and which is enough for many development and testing tasks. Also, you can refresh a developer sandboxes once per day. Now the next one is developer pro sandbox. So developer pro sandboxes also copy all of your production organizations reports, dashboards, price books, products, apps and such as customizations, also under setup, and but also exclude all of your organizations standard and custom object records, documents and attachments. So this type of sandboxes are limited to 1 GB of test or sample data, which is greater than the developer sandbox, the basic developer sandbox. So we can refresh the developer pro sandboxes once per day as similar to the previous one. Then comes partial copy sandboxes. So the partial copy sandboxes or partial data sandbox is a developer sandbox plus the data you define in a sandbox template, and it includes the reports, dashboards and price books, products, apps, and customizations under setup, including all of your organization's metadata. So additionally, as defined by the sandbox template, partial data sandboxes or partial copy sandboxes can include all your organization's standard and custom object records, documents, and attachments up to 5 GB of data and a maximum of 10,000 records per selected object. Also, a partial data sandbox is smaller than a full sandbox and has a shorter refresh interval, and you can refresh a partial copy sandbox every 5 days. Now the final one is full copy sandbox. So a full copy sandbox are also an exact copy of production, including standard and custom object records, attachments, and documents. And the memory it is having is it can store up to 5 GB of your data, and the refresh rate of the full copy sandbox is you can refresh it in every 29 days. So it is smaller in comparison to the previous sandboxes that we have came across. Now let's move on to the next question, that is why we use batch Apex instead of normal Apex. So we'll see the difference between batch Apex and normal Apex over here. So normal Apex uses 100 records per cycle to execute SOQL queries, whereas batch Apex does the same in 200 records per cycle. After that, a normal Apex can retrieve 50,000 SOQL queries, whereas in batch Apex there can be 50 million SOQL queries that can be retrieved. And a batch Apex has a heap size of 12 MB, whereas a normal Apex has less heap size, that is of 6 MB. So that is why it is preferable to use batch Apex instead of normal Apex. Now let's move on to the next question. How can you call an Apex class in Salesforce? So here are the ways to call an Apex class in Salesforce, and you have to remember these processes as we oftenly uses Apex class in Salesforce. So to call an Apex class, we have to start from the Visualforce page. We can use developer console, we can use JavaScript links, we can also use a trigger, and we can call it from another classes, and finally we can use home page components for calling an Apex class in Salesforce. Now let's move on to the final interview question of this session. What is process builder in Salesforce? Let's go to the definition first. What is process builder? So process builder helps you to automate business processes like record, update, email alerts, and any task you assign. And the process uses custom or standard objects with related actions to automate a business process, and it does it all without a single line of code. And here are the process involved in the process builder in Salesforce. It starts with creating records, then updating records, posting on Chatter, quick actions to fix anything that you want, then launching or triggering the flow, submitting the record automatically for approval, calling or triggering Apex code, and finally invoking another process.